Hello, everyone. It's my turn to put out my top 10 best movies of the year list, plus some honorable mentions and some dishonorable mentions. So, 2024 was a really great year for film, especially for horror movies, and certainly for sequels as well. I got to see a lot of these in the theater thanks to my great friend Kara. So, thank you, Kara. And thanks to your discount card at the cinema. Yeah, it's awesome. I got to see so many movies, but there wasn't enough time to see every recommended film, of course. So I've not seen everything. I don't believe The Brutalist and Sing Sing. I don't think those are even available to watch in Canada yet. Probably soon, though, I'm sure. I missed out on A Different Man with Sebastian Stan, Heretic with Hugh Grant, Anora apparently is good, A Real Pain is apparently very good too, and of course, Craven the Hunter. No, I do hear it's awesome, but did I say awesome? I meant redonkulous. But who knows? I haven't seen it yet, right? So who knows? It's not fair to judge a film without seeing it yet. But I do admit I stay away from films that I don't want to see based on trusted opinions. I don't give a damn about Rotten Tomatoes. I hate Rotten Tomatoes. I will go with some trusted movie critics like Oliver Harper from the UK, or Dan Merle from down in the USA, or my fellow Canadian, Victor Lucas, out in Vancouver. I followed these guys for years, and their opinions are very similar to mine. So I trust those opinions. I don't really trust the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Because that could be baloney, of course. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend those three channels that I mentioned, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out those critics, because there's so many critics out there, so I thought I'd put a few of them out there, and to show them off. And my first thing I'm going to talk about here, I'm going to actually go into a guilty pleasure. So the guilty pleasure award this year is going to go to The Beekeeper. Yes, hilarious action movie. Came out all the way back in January of 24. It's not a great movie, really, but it's a fun 80s revenge action type of movie, right? And I really love the fact that Jason Statham goes all out here. He goes after the call centers who scam people. That's awesome. He takes it all the way to the top, and the big reveal in the third act completely blew my mind. So I definitely recommend The Beekeeper. All right, now on to best and worst remake. So let's start with the worst. The worst remake was The Crow. Yeah, pointless, super pointless, the most pointless movie of 2024. They spent too much time building the story, so it takes a while to really get going, unlike the 94 original, which gets to the good stuff, right away. And the new one also has a weaker villain than the original, and it's like nothing against Skarsgård here, but it's bad. Just it's pointless. There's no reason to watch it. I mean, you might as well just go back and watch the 94 original starring Brandon Lee, because Brandon Lee, let's face it, Brandon Lee is the Crow, and no one can ever really be a better Crow, in my opinion. What a waste of time and money to make this movie. Now, on to the best remake, which is Nosferatu. And this is at least the second time that it's been remade since 1922. And it's very impressive. Skarsgård is in both the best and worst remakes of the year here, and he does a good job in the title role of Nosferatu. Everyone does an amazing job with the acting and also the directing, the cinematography. Very impressive stuff. Up next is the biggest disappointment of 2024, after high hopes for the film. So, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, yeah, the trailer was pretty good. I liked the trailer, but it just did not satisfy. It did not turn out anywhere near as good as it should have been. There was so much potential here for a fun Ghostbusters film. They're back in New York, and Janine gets to be in uniform and, and be a Ghostbuster. I really enjoyed Dan Aykroyd's performance. They did some good stuff with Ray Stantz here. Venkman gets a couple of good lines, but really a lame villain, a predictable story with a ghost girl buddy for Phoebe. I thought that was all lame. And a fire master? A fire master? Oh man, no thanks. Next up will be the worst film of 2024, and I talked about this already on Loop and Larry's Guardians of Geek video part 1, so definitely check out that video if you want. It's in my guest appearances playlists if you want to look for it. Borderlands was really bad. There was just nothing in this movie that I enjoyed at all. Nothing against the cast or the director, of course. Just a terrible movie with terrible ideas. It was very annoying, especially Claptrap, Jack Black's robot character. And I like Jack Black, but but I hated this character. I hated every minute of this movie. It was so bad. A second choice for worst film would be Madam Web, because really lame villain and really lame story and idea, and just the assumption that people will be into it just because it's, just kind of like outside of Spider-Man universe. It's, the whole Spider-Verse that Sony did, most of it was pretty lame. So it's unfortunate, but it's all over now. I believe with Kraven the Hunter ends the Sony Spider-Verse, or whatever they call it. But Madam Web, didn't see Kraven, right? But Madam Web was really bad, really really bad. Okay, so let's move on to Best Animated Film, which was The Wild Robot, directed by Chris Sanders, who is really on a hot streak. He's made some really great films here, and I will say, though, I have not seen Flow, which is the Golden Globe winner for Best Animated Film. I believe it's a foreign film. I guess that's why I haven't seen any marketing for this film at all. So I don't know. Here in the West, it's hard to even know about these movies until they get awards or a lot of word of mouth and stuff. So I will see Flow, but I never saw it yet. Anyway, the second best for me was Transformers 1, because it surprised me at how respectful it was to the G1 lore, the G1 design. It's the first animated Transformers movie since Transformers the movie back in 1986, when I was 8 years old. And I was skeptical going in. I was cynical. I was, I don't know about this. And they won me over. They won over an 80s boy like me. So when they're able to please G1 fans like me, they've done a good job, while also doing something a little different. Some great acting on there too. Some wonderful performances. I really loved Steve Buscemi as Starscream. All right, so before I do the top 10, I'm just going to mention some quick honorable mentions here. So the first one I'm going to mention is Cuckoo, which is a weird, disturbing horror film. It's a co-production from the US and Germany, but it's kind of fascinating. Like, the more weird stuff happens, the more you want to watch more of it, right? So it really hooks you in. That's the grabber, is the weirdness, how crazy and weird that it is. I thought it was great. Quite frankly, I enjoyed it much better than a lot of the gory horror films like In a Violent Nature or Terrifier 3. Those were well made, certainly. From a producer's perspective, they'd be great movies. But I thought that the more suspenseful and disturbing movies like Cuckoo really did a better job this year of staying with me. And the next movie I'm going to say is Wicked. Yeah, the musical. So it's the best musical of the year, right? But I hate musicals, so so what does that mean, right? But almost by default, I guess it's the best one. So the fact that I enjoyed it, for the most part, it was a little boring at times for me, but I did enjoy it. I really gotta say, that's really saying something, right? When the movie is so impressive that someone that hates the genre actually goes and sees the movie anyway. You won me over, Wicked. So it's a great adaptation of the first part of the Broadway play. Next up, Deadpool and Wolverine. So definitely the best dialogue of the year, and maybe the funniest movie too. After you get over the cameos and all the shocking cameos and things like that, the movie kind of loses its luster on repeat viewings. I don't really take it too seriously, right? I mean, any real drama in the film is kind of lost because it's so silly and meta, breaking the fourth wall. You can't take anything seriously with Deadpool, but it was still endlessly entertaining. It was probably the least boring movie of the year, right? I mean, that dialogue was just insane, just so good. Next up is Furiosa, and I had a lot of fun with this action film. It did not deserve to bomb at all at the box office. Shame on people that didn't go see this movie because they didn't think it was going to be a good movie. Maybe just because there was little to no Mad Max in it. I mean, well, I'm not going to see it then. Oh, no. Oh, it's woke. It's woke. It's not woke. Get out of here. So it's a good movie. It's a lot of fun. And Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth were excellent in this movie. Next up is Speak No Evil, another good remake with a very menacing performance from James McAvoy. And next I'm going to also mention Oddity, which is a creepy Irish horror film about a murder with supernatural consequences for the bad guys. So I thought the director was really good on this one, with some very, very cool jump scares in this film. And I also got to mention A Complete Unknown, right? So I just reviewed that movie. Way late, I know, but it was good. It was a great biopic, and I'm not even a huge Dylan fan, but he's obviously a brilliant poet and an artist and everything, and Chalamet deserves a lot of credit for his work in that film as well. And Alien Romulus, that'll be the last one I mentioned as an honorable mention. Alien Romulus was fun. It was a big hit in the theaters. I love the new innovative stuff that they did with finding ways of combating the xenomorphs, dealing with the face huggers and things like that. They came up with some great new ideas here. It was actually the callbacks that I didn't like. So, get away from her, you bitch, and anything like that that's like a direct callback to a previous film, I thought was stupid, but otherwise, it was a lot of fun, very entertaining action sci-fi thriller. All right, here we go with the top 10 best movies of 2024, in my humble opinion, out of the movies that I had the time to see. So, number 10 is Transformers 1. Definitely the most surprisingly good film of the year. Very impressed with the voice work and the design. It was very respectful to old G1 fanboys like myself. Number 9, Late Night with the Devil. Now, this was a Shudder exclusive that I watched at home, and it was surprisingly effective, for a film that purposefully looks dated. Of course, it's supposed to be in the 70s, and it's also in 4:3, so it really does look like it came out back then. Fantastic work, great acting, and I wanted more. I thought it was really good. Number 8 is Nosferatu, the best cinematography of the year, I thought. Great shadows, some blurred out shots of Count Orlok is a risky thing to do, right? People think, oh, geez, the cameraman doesn't know what he's doing, But that's not the case. They did it on purpose so that you couldn't really see what he looked like fully. It doesn't really fully reveal. Robert Eggers, the director, he did not fully reveal Orlok until a certain point, and I like that. I really thought that was smart. And Bill Skarsgård, perfect as the Count Orlok here, completely unrecognizable. You wouldn't know that was him until you read the credits. Lily Rose Depp, yes, daughter of Johnny Depp. She was big with her reactions, but of course she's being controlled by the Nosferatu, and some people liked that, and some people felt it was cheesy and over the top, too melodramatic. And I get that. It is a very melodramatic movie, of course. I just thought it was great. I thought it was a wonderful movie, even though it's a ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula, right? It was damn good. And Nicholas Hoult and Willem Dafoe are excellent, too. Number 7 is Abigail, a very fun horror film about a group who kidnap this mafia boss's daughter, and she turns out to be a vampire. Now, they do reveal that in the trailers, okay, so I'm not spoiling anything here. I love the fact that she messes with them as they are trapped in this big mansion, and she's killing them off one by one. It was better written than I expected, really. It seemed like a very basic, kind of simple premise, simple idea, but I loved it. I thought it was bloody good fun. Number 6 is Longlegs. So this one's not for everyone, I know, but I loved it. It was creepy and insane, and I loved that it was so much more than how it was marketed. The film Silence of the Lambs was the main focus of the marketing here. It's like, it's just as good as Silence of the Lambs, or it's the best thing since Silence of the Lambs, or whatever, the critics were saying. It's not Silence of the Lambs at all. That's just really a grabber, that just hooks you in to go see it. It's so much more than that. And it really does stay with you. This movie stayed in my mind after I left the theater. Can't say that about too many movies this past year. There are some shots where you can barely see this shadow at times. And I had to rewatch this movie. I had to watch it again to look for these shadows. Like, oh, there's like a shadowy figure. Oh, wait a minute. What is that? And you hit pause and you go, what is that? So you'll be doing that too when you see this movie. If this is the kind of movie for you, it's fantastic work. Very disturbing, and of course, seeing an uncaged Nick Cage is always a treat. Number 5 is The Wild Robot, best animated film, beautifully told. Chris Sanders did an excellent job again with the direction and the cast here. Overall, they were just really, really good, really fantastic work here from a lot of recognizable actors. Pedro Pascal, though, you don't recognize his voice. You don't recognize Mark Hamill's voice, or Lupita Nyong'o, for that matter, as the Wild Robot, the titular character. So everyone did a wonderful job of really disappearing into their roles with their voice work, and the movie it's just wonderful entertainment for kids of all ages. Number 4 is Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and it's a touching tribute to the late great Christopher Reeve, who was my Superman. He was a lot of people's Superman, and probably the best casting of all time, and in my opinion, just a fascinating look at his career, but it does mostly focus on the accident and the aftermath of that. And how he dedicated himself to stem cell research and things like that, interviews with family members. It was very touching. And yes, again, I did cry. Number 3 is Saturday Night. The cast here should get some kind of an award for best ensemble, I think. It was too short, but that's not really a criticism so much as it just means I wanted more, because it was so good. It was just every second of this movie was just awesomely entertaining. I loved every second. Jason Reitman did an amazing job here about what it was like on opening night for Saturday Night Live back in 1975, the very first episode. And, the show that would go on to be called SNL, as it is still going 50 years later. Just absolutely incredible cast. So many of these actors, they look a lot like the not ready for primetime players like Gilda Radner, John Belushi, Garrett Morris, Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd. Aykroyd was the standout for me. I really, really enjoyed that actor's portrayal. Gabriel LaBelle from The Fabelmans, he plays Lorne Michaels here. And he really leads the cast, and he's fantastic at kind of, like showing how stressed out he is without freaking out. It's all behind his eyes. How okay, like anything can happen at any time. This is a crazy project. This may not work, right? It's kind of like a pilot. Like they're gonna do it to see if it works. So it could be the end of everyone's careers, and all that stuff. There's a lot riding on the line, and it's a bit outrageous too. With J.K. Simmons playing Milton Berle as this arrogant jerk, and Matthew Rhys as a constantly upset and coked out George Carlin. Wonderful, wonderful performances. But I really got to credit the cast and the direction here. Wonderful film. Definitely see Saturday Night. Number 2 is Dune Part 2. So Denis Villeneuve's satisfying second part about Paul Atreides fulfilling the Fremen prophecy and getting revenge on the ones who murdered his father and his family, his house, and everything. Just excellent work. I mean, this should be another Oscar nomination for cinematography, I would think. Certainly excellent work. The visual effects, outstanding. It's, it came out way back in March, and it was my favorite movie pretty much throughout the whole year, and it's number 2 for me. It could be number 1, but for number 1, I'm going with The Substance. So this is the best body horror film maybe ever, with a great message about ageism and obsession with younger stars, really, and just fantastic stuff. I won't reveal too much, but the acting is brilliant. Give Demi Moore the Oscar. She deserves it. And that's it. There you have it. Those are my picks for the top 10 best films of 2024. Again, I didn't see everything, of course, so if you have any movies that I didn't mention at all here, definitely comment in the comments below and let me know what your favorite movies were of this year, especially if there's one that I missed and I should really check out. All right, guys, that's it for me, and that's it for 2024. And I thank you so much for tuning into these quick and simple little reviews that I do. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies.